Hello, hello. Welcome back. I'm the Everprince, and joining me today from his tenure in the Dark Cells is my good friend, the Drakari Dungle.
What are we getting into?
Today, backed by popular demand, mostly because I was demanding, we're going to be continuing the part 2 of the lovely chapter creation table that you were on for the first, what's called the leak, I should say, of my chapter generator program.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, so we are going to be doing the part 2, which, for those of you who haven't watched it, here's a quick refresher. I created a chapter generator. It took me like over a year to make. No humble brag. It was really in depth. We came up with some really cool ideas. I brought Dungle on. We created a chapter. Dungle, would you like to share so far what you have created from your chapter, just to give the people an idea? We don't have to go over the lore or anything just yet. Just like what we have written down, and then we can kind of transition to what our plans are for this episode.
So, in terms of what you're asking me, do you mean the actual physical things you've rolled, or the concept you've come up because of it?
Would you be willing to a combination of both? I am fine with either or.
I am more than happy to do both. Which would you like me to start with?
Let's go with your roles, and then we'll transition into what we came up with as a concept. This way, not only can people see like what roles are possible, but the actual, like, you know, if you're creative enough, what can come up, like what you can create with just these roles alone, right? Because, you know, some people, they'll see the roles, they'll take it at surface level, and that's all they'll go with. So we can kind of take advantage of this, use this as an example to go over to put it bluntly, the insane ideas you can come up with just the roles alone.
Absolutely. So, we are within the segmentum solar. This is all something we've rolled. Everything following this is all stuff that's actually been rolled in this generator, just to clarify. But it is a system within the segmentum solar. It has five systems within it, 3 suns, 2 of which are newborn blue stars, and 1 which is a dying star. The actual home planet of the chapter is a combination of both a planet and a moon, of which the moon has nearly left the planet's gravitational pull. They are both incredibly large in comparison to Earth. The ecclesiarchy within the system has a decent enough presence as anywhere else in the Imperium, but honestly, a surprising lack of zealotry. But here are some interesting things about this chapter in particular. It is an Ultramarine successor chapter. Well, it's not the surprising part. The chapter treats aspirants as worthy of succession and will actively help them to succeed, which is very rare in the 41st millennium. In addition, if an aspirant is to fail, they are considered loyal servants. And one very interesting thing about the planet, which the home moon of this chapter is the center of the orbit of, is it is a training ground for shock troopers. So the idea is, as far as I'm concerned, is that a failed aspirant will simply go back into the shock trooper program, and they're very intrinsically linked together due to the chapter's view of their little system as a empire in miniature. So yeah, it's honestly very, very interesting. And we can get into the minutia a little later if you wanted, but I figured that gives a very good refresher of where we're at.
Yes, I do agree. I think it's a very good refresher for the people who haven't seen part 1. I do recommend they take a look at it just so they can see some of the roles that we went through. They know we're not bullshitting. They can kind of get an idea, feel to it. Yes. Anything else you want to share about your chapter? How different are they from the standard chapter? What are their modifications to the Codex Astartes, if you will?
Well, their specific flavor of Gillimanism is they really enjoy sabotage. That's their whole purpose as a chapter, but it's also sector-wide, absolutist scale combat. They are very proficient in it, as far as these roles have said so far. They have an incredibly large fleet, which is surprising for a planet-based chapter. They have some very unique quirks, such as their first company specializes in using Phobos scout armor, while the second company's captain enjoys a specific Terminator suit. They also have some very interesting, at first you wouldn't think they'd match, but we'll get into it later on how we actually think it works really well. But they not only engage in historical war games, but they also have a ritual of weapon blessings, which, again, it sounds a little scattered, like what do they have to do with each other? But here's the thing. We rolled on the Forge roll table, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not surprised if you guys are lost, because this goes everywhere. But, in terms of the Forge world, they are actually average, if not lacking. So it seems like all of the equipment is made cheaply to make everything a net gain in terms of either ill-gotten or well-earned gains. And the very specific signature of this chapter is their inferior plasma pistol, which is a single-use, single-shot plasma pistol which must be discarded after use. It cannot be reloaded. But that does allow widespread use of it. And due to its strange design, it is actually somewhat safer than your regular plasma pistol, because there's nowhere else for the plasma to go other than out the barrel. And that's only with, an hour and a half of work on this table?
Yeah, just basically an hour's worth of rolling, we're able to get all this done. And obviously this is just the surface level, the skeleton, the framework of what your chapter is going to be, right? Because we're discussing in private, kind of behind the scenes, what we're kind of imagining this chapter to be like, and just the depth you can go into with it. For this one, I'm assuming this should be good for everyone as a good refresher course. We're a good 10 minutes in at this point. I think it's good that we begin the actual topic of today's rolling session. So, are you prepared, Dungle, for this phase of the chapter creation process?
I am ready for whatever you throw at me.
Excellent. So, for those of you who've seen our previous episode, from my previous episode where I had Mark from Lorehammer on, we went over the chapter narrative process at the end of the episode. The chapter narrative section, just to repeat myself, because I tend to do that a lot for anyone who doesn't know me, is basically a lexicanum article. It's a period in time where your chapter did X. In the case of the Black Templars, this would be them defeating the Cacodominus kind of thing. Every chapter, depending on how old they are, has a different number of events. As my friend Dungle mentioned, his chapter, I'm not sure if he mentioned, his chapter is actually fairly old. I believe they are venerated. Is that correct? Very good. So as a venerated chapter, he has access to more events than, say, a primary surviving chapter. So this means that he has a wide range of possible outcomes for his chapter to go through as they progress through the story. So to, again, go over it, chapter narratives are basically a mini game for your chapter. So not only do you use random rolls to create your chapter from the ground up, you can then take that chapter you created into this mini game that I created for your chapter to go through. Now, this mini game can involve you visiting different parts of the galaxy all across multiple segmentums. This can involve your chapter losing its relics, having its warp drive failing, defending a planet from a siege, containing an eldritch horror at the edge of the galaxy. There are so many options that can occur just through the narrative table alone. So, Dungle, are we ready to go through this?
I'm ready.
All right. So, we're going to begin with the chapter narrative section. Now, and when it comes to chapter narratives, one of the most important things to go over is location. So, Dungle, you are in the 66-page PDF because I added 4 pages for anyone who's keeping track. And you should go down to are you in the chapter narrative section?
I have it pulled up, yes. I'm on page 43 of the PDF.
Very good. If you scroll down to page 44, there is a event location section. Mm-hmm. Now, you will notice that the map is divided into 3 sections. You have the inner segmentum, the mid segmentum, and the outer segmentum. So, Dungle, do you remember? You said you were in the segmentum solar. I don't think it was segmentum solar. I think it was the segmentum pacificus.
Yes, you're right. I misspoke.
It's okay. So
I remember being incredibly close to the segmentum solar, the inner segmentum pacificus.
Yes, very good. So now how this system works is when we create an event, when we create a narrative, one event must take place in your basically your third of your segmentum. So for Dungle's first event, it will take place in the inner segmentum pacificus. However, for his following event, he can then place his follow-up narrative event in any adjacent segmentum, basically portion. So, for example, let's say Dungle for his second narrative wanted to go into the middle segmentum pacificus. He could do that. He could also go into the inner segmentum obscurus or the inner segmentum tempesus. However, he cannot reach the inner segmentum ultima because it is too far away. And this is basically to create I don't want to say the illusion, but it's basically create a familiarity with that portion of space for your chapter. However, there is one thing we have to account for. Dungle, your chapter has an artifact, do they not?
That they do. It is a celestial map.
All right. Would you like to read me what the celestial map does, if you can remember it, if you have notes for it?
I do not have notes.
Okay, it is fine. I remember what it was. What the celestial map does is this allows Dungle, his chapter, to place an event in an additional adjacent segmentum. So, for example, if Dungle wanted to, for his second event, he could go as far as the inner segmentum ultima if he wanted to. So it allows him even greater reach because he has access to the celestial map. Does that make sense?
I believe so.
Very good. So, it's important. Dungle, what are you going to be doing for your first narrative event? This is your chapter's basically founding of, this is like the earliest event in their history.
All right, well, let's do it in the inner segmentum pacificus where they are located then.
Very good. This will be, it's their home event. Very good. Now, let me just double check something for the location. I want to confirm this. Very good. All right. So, in addition to determining which segmentum your chapter is going to be taking place in, this also means we have to decide the location, not just the grand sweeping portion of the galaxy they're in, but we actually have to decide what planets they're going to be taking place on. So we have to. I will return up to the planet generator section, so you don't have to unless you really want to, Dungle. No. Okay, very good. And we will create the planet in question that this event is taking place on. And this allows, and because of the wide range of basically options for the planet, just do this. Because of the wide range of options for planets, this can also further add depth to the lore we're going to write. So, for example, let's say we had an event that took place on a barren planet that had, I believe one of them is a weak nuclear pole. And basically what this means is, Vox communication on the planet is really spotty. Well, when we're creating the lore for this narrative, we can incorporate the planet's secondary features into the event. So it allows us to add even more diversity and depth to the event creation in itself. Let us decide the planet. Dungle, would you be so kind as to roll me a D6?
D6, absolutely. How about a 2?
A 2 is a tropical world. Roll me a D4 now. For those wondering, a tropical world is similar to Dagobah or Pandora from the Avatar movies. Dagobah from Star Wars.
1.
1. Super forest. The forests on this planet are overgrown and densely packed, making all forms of advanced auspex and vox communication ineffective at best. So the forests on this planet are so thick, you basically can't communicate. Now, let us determine the planet's society. Do you have a D100 available?
I can most certainly produce one.
Very good.
Alrighty. I can roll whenever.
Go ahead now.
57.
57. Let me go to 57. If I am correct, a 57 is... We would like a 57, which is a civilized world. So this is a tropical world that has technology that's kind of equivalent to modern day Earth, but a little bit less. And let's do... Yeah,
you were saying Dagobah, but it seems like we found Kashyyyk.
Ooh, good point. This is Kashyyyk, good enough. Alright, so filthy Xenos. Alright, gotta find the secondary planet classification now. So civilized world, roll a d20 for me.
Absolutely. 16.
16 is a paradise world. So for whatever reason, this planet has been classified as a paradise world. Roll me a d6 to figure out why it was made a paradise world.
Okay. 1.
Okay, fuck. Never mind then. Rich natural beauty. The planet possesses a natural beauty that's rare. Fuck off. My favorite one is 6, which was clerical error, which is for whatever reason.
You know what? Let's roll again. Why not?
All right.
Let's see if we like this one better.
Yeah.
Hey, would you look at that? Clerical error.
Clerical error. For whatever reason, or by sheer incompetence or direct malicious intent, this planet is incorrectly categorized by the Imperium. So this planet is a paradise world for whatever reason, but it's probably not because it's beautiful. Alright. So we have our planet in mind. It's Kashyyyk, but you know what? It is Kashyyyk. Kashyyyk's a fucking death world, isn't it? It's a really shitty place to live.
As far as I'm aware, it's not great, but I mean, the Wookiees seem to be doing alright in the Clone Wars, so...
Yeah, but the Wookiees got droid attacked, so that's different. Alright. So, we're on to the main event, which is... What was the event on this planet? Roll me a d10 to determine what type of event. Your options are a disaster, a skirmish, a defense, a defensive mission, or an aggressive mission.
How about 5?
A 5 is a defensive mission. Now, roll me a 2, 3, 4. Roll me a d4. 1. Containment. Your chapter has been tasked with containing an enemy or hostile force located within a contested region on the planet. The enemy cannot be allowed to escape. So, for whatever reason, there's something on this planet that has to be contained. What happens is, for containment missions, if you're victorious, so we'll get to if you're victorious or not as we get through the event. If you're victorious in this event, you have to determine how long you're stationed there. But for the most part, we're gonna wait till we get to that, because sometimes you have to defend the location for who knows how long. So so a containment event. Now let us determine the scale of the event. Roll me a d4, please. This is determined if it's a minoris event, which is a continental scale, majoris, which is planetary, or absolutus, which is system-wide.
How about a 4?
Absolutus, a system-wide conflict. So, not only are you doing battle on this planet, but the entire system needs to be locked down. Nothing can leave this system. That is how important, this containment is. So,
my goodness.
Yeah. Now, during such conflicts, you have to determine how many companies of Marines your chapter is providing. For absolutist scale, your chapter could provide the entire thing. So your chapter will provide 1d4 plus 6 companies. So roll me a d4, adding 6, and that's how many companies of Marines are sent to contain this planet level, this system-wide threat.
Everyone was here, another 4.
Holy fuck, 10 companies. You had 1,000 Marines fucking locking this system down. Alright. Now, when rolling for, when we do an event, we have to determine our enemies and our allies. So for absolutist scale events, you have to roll twice on the enemies table, 3 times on the allies table, and in addition, every narrative event comes with a random event. So in the case of absolutist scale events, there are 3 random events that can occur. Let's begin by rolling for your allies. So roll me a d8 3 times.
Okay. D8. 1 second.
And these are basically the allies that were sent with you to contain this system-wide threat. And I should note that these allies will have lasting consequences and opinions on your chapter.
Okay, here's the first with a 7.
7 is a Space Marine chapter, so another chapter came to assist you. So this is an event that requires 2 Space Marine chapters to stop.
Yeah, it requires 10 chapters, at least 11 companies.
Yeah. Alright, next one.
We have 3.
3. That is a regiment of the Astra Militarum. And the last one.
5.
5 is a Forge World of Mechanicus. So
holy crap, the whole gang's here for goddamn Forest Planet, which was accidentally made a Paradise World.
Yeah. So when I say a Forge World, don't expect the entire planet to be in orbit, but a Forge World is sending an expeditionary fleet. This is a fleet from we'll say your chapter's Forge World that they're aligned to is also here to so why would a regiment of the Astra Militarum, the Mechanicus, and 2 chapters be fighting here?
All over a misunderstanding over a Twix bar.
Basically. Alright. So we gotta roll twice on the enemies table. So and every single segmentum has a different list of enemies because my autism told me to give every single segmentum a unique enemy.
Alright, what am I rolling? Another D8?
D8. Segmentum Pacificus. Roll twice.
4.
4. An Orc Wa. Next.
2.
2 is Heretic Astartes. Oh, fuck. Alright. Now roll me a d8 to determine what legion, or I guess what warband of the legion is here.
Are you fucking... This is now sounding like Armageddon. And what is it? What do we need to roll?
A d8.
Alright. 7.
7. Death Guard.
Oh, Jesus.
So you got the Death Guard. You got an Orc Wa that's big enough to be a system-wide conflict. So you got enough Orks and traitorous Astartes to consider an entire system quarantined down. We need to lock this system down. And you need 2 chapters of Astartes. We'll say it's 2 full chapters, so 2,000 Astartes, because if you're going there at full power, there's probably going to be another chapter of at least relative strength to yours. On top of the Mechanicus, on top of the Imperial Guard.
This is wacky.
Oh, not to mention...
fantastic.
Not to mention the planet itself is, dense forest, right? So, communication is fucking shot on this planet.
Oh, yeah.
Alright. Now, here's something we're going to need to account for. When there are 2 enemy forces in a system, we have to account for how those enemies will interact. Because, let's say there's 2 Orc Was in the same system. There's a chance they might join forces or they might attack each other. Same thing with Chaos Marines, same thing with different factions. For example, let's say the Necrons are fighting you, but the Tyranids show up. Well, the Necrons are going to immediately stop attacking you and go for the Tyranids, right? Because every faction has different relationships with one another. So, for the Orcs, we're gonna ignore the Orks and Chaos Marines. Alright. So we don't have to worry about this. Perfect. Alright, don't worry about this for now. This is only if they come in reinforcements. However, speaking of reinforcements, don't worry about this. This was a fuck up on my end. This is we're only gonna adjust the relationship parts when it comes to reinforcements. However, what we are going to account for is the random events table. So random events are they're random events that can occur during a narrative event. So we have 3 of them. So roll me 3 d8s, Dungle.
Okay. Sorry, what is this for? The relationships?
No, this is for random events.
Okay.
Yeah.
4 for the first one.
First one is a 4, unforeseen complications. Now roll me a d4 for that one.
Alright, 1 second.
Wait, no, sorry, not a d4. I fuck up. I misread something. Sorry. It's not a d4, it is a d10.
5.
5 is battlefield bombardment. For whatever reason, be it an enemy attempting to scorch a battlefield clean, fearing their defeat, or an ally's unexpected misfire, be it a small artillery strike or exterminatus destroying a planet, and basically someone on some battlefield decided just to bomb the fuck out of the war zone. So I don't know, maybe because it's a system-wide conflict, maybe a planet got fucking blown up. But for the purposes of determining casualties, because we gotta roll casualties for these events, those also become a factor. So when you roll to determine casualties, increase the result by 5, and when you roll to determine the victor, increase the result by 1 if you won, but if you lost, decrease the result by 1. And what this means is, depending on how much you win, like let's say you win by +3, you'll suffer less casualties. But if you lose by -3, you'll suffer more casualties. So this is where the +1 -1 comes into play. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Very good, very good. So at some point the battlefield was bombed. I don't know if you want to keep track of that result, because those numbers might play an important point are going to play an important part.
So what do I roll for the casualties then?
We will get to casualties at the end. I do casualties after we do all the events, because different events have different modifiers to the casualty roll.
Okay.
So roll once again a d8.
7.
7 is allied reinforcements. So roll again on the allied reinforcements table, and allies show up, and that group of allies show up.
That's another d8?
Yep.
6.
6. An Imperial Night House.
Oh my god.
Holy fuck, this is a war zone and a half. So when
How
allies...
the hell?
Go ahead.
No, this stupid fucking forest planet is worth so much for nothing.
Literally, this is the Imperium. Of course it's worth nothing.
2 full chapters of Astartes, Astra Militarum Regiment, a fucking whole explorer fleet versus an Ork One at Death Guard warband.
Yeah.
And then an Imperial Night House shows up.
Oh, and also a planet blew up. Also a planet blows up.
Yep.
Alright. Roll once more for the random event table. Oh, and these events are concurring with one another. So big event in the system. A planet blows up, and then the Night House shows up.
Maybe a planet blew up because the Night House showed up.
That's how they make an entrance.
Yep. I got 2.
Enemy forces arrive.
Oh my. More
enemies. So,
I guess we're showing up Cadia today.
Alright, roll a d8 for me, please.
Oh god, let it be Tau. That'd be so funny.
Oh my god. You can't
I
have
got 5.
A 5 is a rebellious Imperial world.
Oh my god.
So disloyal members of the Imperium's governmental body have turned traitor, taking their vast resources and influence with them. So either this planet also turns, like, they don't turn to chaos, they just rebel in general. The Imperial planet turns against the Imperium and starts fighting everyone.
And all because some lazy asshole in the Adeptus Terra fucked up the classification.
Yep.
This is fantastic.
I agree. Alright, now, if the rebellious Imperials join forces, this is the good thing though. If there's rebellious Imperials, because again, like I said, if allies or enemies join in, that can also play a part on the modifier. If rebellious Imperial forces join as enemy reinforcements, if Chaos, Orks, or Tyranids are part of this war zone, there's no changes. But if Chaos, Orks, and Tyranids are part of this war zone, then you have no negative modifiers.
Fantastic.
No worries from them. Alright. Now, we gotta determine a legendary figure from this event. Every war zone has, that one character that, Grimald holding the church at the end of Hell's Reach. You all have that one legendary character. For this one, roll me a d6 to determine the fate of the Marine. After we determine his fate, we'll determine his rank. Because I think determining what happened to him is more important than what his rank was.
Okay. So this is for a notable Marine.
Yeah, a notable figure.
Alright, sorry, I'm just trying to take this for my notes. Notable figure, D6. 5.
Defeated enemy champion. So this guy, whoever he was, defeated a powerful enemy champion. This could be the war boss, the warlord of the warband, the planetary governor. Any one of those three guys, this guy defeated. Roll me a d8 to determine his rank.
Okay. 2.
He was a company captain. Okay.
Oh my gosh, alright.
This could be, your second company captain killed him, right? Because he wears Terminator armor. He's a special character. Mm-hmm. Now we gotta determine, so this company captain, maybe this is your chapter's first event, right? So maybe your company captain, he didn't have Terminator armor yet, right? Maybe him killing this champion is what awarded all company captains from the second company the title, the honor of wearing Terminator armor. Like, what this guy did was so great, it basically permanently solidified every second company captain to wear Terminator armor.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Let's determine the outcome. So this is determine whether you won or you lost. So, depending on the scale of the event determines the roll we need to make. So for a threat level absolutist event, we gotta roll a d20. Here's the thing though, when it comes to determining the outcome, we also have to account for our chapter's combat doctrine. So Dungle, this chapter of ours, these wonderful sabotagers, they specialize in aggressive combat, specifically sabotage, but there's also a particular scale of conflict they excel at. Do you remember what that scale is?
It is in fact absolutist, the scale we're fighting in.
Exactly. So when you are rolling your d20, you will add a +1 to the result.
Okay.
Now, are there any other modifiers you need to account for? Also, when allies join as part of reinforcements, that also gives you a +1. And because a Night House joined as part of reinforcements, that gives you a +2 to the result.
+2 total, right?
Yep.
Okay. And 11 + 2 is 13.
13. You had a Pyrrhic victory. Not bad, not bad. Oh, also, because we had the Exterminatus event, when you, like I said, if you win, you get a +1 to the result. If you lose, you get a +1. So your 13 becomes a 14. It still keeps 14. It still becomes it's still a Pyrrhic victory, but you won by a bit more.
Okay.
Now this is where we get to the casualty roll. So, I'm not sure if you're on determining casualties or not, but, basically, determining how you won the battle from decisive defeat, close defeat, valiant defeat, Pyrrhic victory, close victory, or decisive victory, each one of those comes with a modifier to your casualty roll. So in the case of a Pyrrhic victory, we got a -5. So when you roll casualties, you reduce 5 by the result. However, because of the Exterminatus, the battlefield bombardment random event, we also have a +5 to our casualty roll. So the result of basically our casualty modifier is 0.
Okay.
We don't have to worry about any modifiers. We just have to roll casualties at base. And casualties is I don't know if you have that many dice. You might have to pull up a program for this one. But it is 8d10.
I think I do. Let me see. Give me a second.
Ooh, this is what happens when you're a dice goblin like us.
I just have a bag of dice, and DM always has extra dice to give to his players. Let's see if I can walk the walk as well as talk the talk. There we go. Sorry, my cat is on my lap, making this incredibly difficult for no reason other than it wants to be warm.
You let that cat be warm, damn it.
Like, I am a human space heater, and that is my purpose. Alright, there we go. I got 8. 1 second. Alright, so roll 8 of these buggers.
Yes, sir.
So let's see here. 10, 20, 22, 25, 29, 36, 41.
41. All right. So what that means is 41% of your chapter's force that were sent in this event were killed. However, because your chapter sent a full 1,000, well, 41% of
410.
Yeah. 410 dead Astartes.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot. Well, I mean, look at everyone that was here. This was basically Armageddon.
Yeah, this was Cadia 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, all right. Now, if you remember the containment, because we were victorious in this event, we have to determine how long you have to remain. You basically have to maintain containment. Because, like, yeah, you defeated them, but this area still has to be quarantined off for some period of time. So, roll me a d4 to determine how long your chapter needs to basically garrison this event or this system.
3.
3 is for the next century. For the next century, your chapter basically has to maintain garrison over this system. It's not that period. It's not that long, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, for Astartes, it's like it's like one penitent crusade for a taxi boy.
Yeah, basically, your chapter basically just spends the next century. I mean, this could be an event that your chapter has like recorded. Like for our first event, we defended a system against like 3 enemy forces, and then we had to like basically police the system for another century to make sure nothing was going down. Very good, very good. All right, now let's see if you had any. All right, so let's see how bad your fleet was fucked up, because your fleet's gonna suffer damage during these events. So you have your escort ships, your strike cruiser, and 1 battle barge, right? You have quite a big fleet as we went over.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, I have 3 battle barges, 8 strike cruisers, and 17 escort ships.
Okay, great. Then you can take the hit to the escort cruisers. Roll me 3d8, and that is how many escort ships were damaged.
All right, 1 second. All right, that makes 11.
11 of your escort ships were damaged. Now roll me 2d6 for your strike cruisers. That's like more than half your fleet of escort ships, huh?
Correct.
Holy fuck, this battle was rough on you guys.
I mean, it is a pretty gigantic battle.
Yeah, no fucking kidding.
3.
So
3 strike
3
cruisers.
3 strike cruisers, and then 1 battle barge was damaged. Like, it's automatically 1 battle barge. You have to roll for them. But it's still not great that all those ships were damaged in this event. All right, now you've suffered damages. You've suffered losses. Your fleet's been damaged. Let's see how good your chapter is with people. For animosities and rivalries, we have to determine our allies and rivals. So, we had 4, right? We had 4 allies join this event, right?
Yep, we have a Space Marine chapter, an Astro Militarum Regiment, a Explorer fleet, and an Imperial Night House.
Yeah, that's fucking wild. Alright, so for each one of those, you gotta roll a d20. And depending on the result, that will determine basically how you guys left the battlefield, how you guys parted ways on. So let's start with the chapter, because they were the first one you rolled for.
Alright. It's crazy. This is so bonkers.
Let's go through the enemies, and then I'll ask you your opinion on the whole narrative section. So just let that brew on your head for a little bit while we're doing this. Alright, so...
respected.
Respected. So you and the chapter left on respected terms, so you guys were pretty good. Mm-hmm. Alright. Next one is the Imperial Guard?
Yep.
Alright, what are we looking at for them?
Let's find out. I got 11 indifferent allies.
Okay. Could be worse.
I can't wait to roll a 1 on the Night House.
Oh, that would suck.
The Explorer fleet. Hated enemies.
Hated enemies. Wow, you guys... You know what? Maybe that's why you guys have such bad plasma pistols. You guys pissed them off on your first engagement.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, basically you guys are quietly seething if you guys are ever on the same battlefield. If you guys are ever on the same battlefield and one of you is in danger, there's a good chance you will not come to the other's aid.
Well, the opposite of what I guessed would happen with the Night House, I got 18 brothers in arms.
Oh man, alright. So respected beyond let's say you guys ever need help, they might just come help you. So what I like to do for this case is if there's ever let's say when we're doing random events and we get the ally reinforcements, you could call in the Imperial, you can basically call in this specific Night House to assist you instead of rolling on the ally table.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not saying that they're in your pocket, hey, we need help, come help us, because, because every single time you bring them back, you have to roll again to see if you maintain this, because you might just piss them off.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Is there something roll for enemies too, or?
For enemies, we don't roll for enemies. We just assign casualties to them. So for every single enemy in the order they showed up, we take the number of casualties, we assign that to the first enemy, and we assign the basically the condition, the category of it. So for example, the total casualties we had was 41%, right? So the first enemy force we rolled for was Orks. So between 31 and 50% is a crushing blow. Your chapter suffered a fairly substantial amount of casualties, and as a result of this event, your chapter will remember this slight. So now your chapter gains an animosity rating of 1 against the Orks. Animosity rating is basically, if you guys ever fight that same faction again, you'll basically get a buff and a debuff. For an animosity rating of 1, I believe there's no bonus, there's no issue with it. Let's say these guys killed an insane amount of you guys, and you get 4 or some shit. I think the highest you can get is 10. Your chapter will be in a frenzy to kill them. And as a result, your chapter might get lost to the fog of war. And it'll make them suffer more casualties. But you'll get a higher chance of victory.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, animosity rating of 1 to the Orks. We cut that in half for the Chaos Space Marines, which is a worthy challenge. Which basically means that your chapter didn't have, they were a threat. They weren't enough of a threat for your chapter to be we fucking hate you. So, in the case of a worthy challenge, your chapter's animosity rating of that enemy faction would go down by 1. So basically, it's you guys, they were a threat, but they were less of a threat compared to them. So your guys' animosity rating towards this faction went down by 1. They were less of a priority.
Makes sense.
Yep. And then the under 10% for the rebellious Imperials, which is pathetic. Your chapter has no malice or anger, but simple indifference, or maybe even pity towards them. They were such a non-factor, such a non-threat to you, that it's almost pitiable that you guys tried to fight us.
Yep. And nothing changes statistically?
Nothing changes statistically for those two. So, thoughts on the narrative table so far, the narrative event creation.
This is fantastically detailed. Lines up, honestly, with the new lore in terms of how fucking crazy everything's getting, so...
Yes. Let's see how your chapter has recovered from the casualties. This is where we go to the resupply and recruitment phase. So this is the final phase of creating a narrative event. After we do this, we basically repeat the process until we have all of our events done. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but we'll just go for recruitment so far. So when we get to the recruitment phase, when we get to the recruitment phase, we actually take 50% of the casualties we suffered from the event, and we replenish that many Astartes. So during our event, we lost 410 Marines, right? So we would actually recover 205 Astartes. However, in the case of a victory, your chapter also recovers half the amount of the surviving Marines. Now, to a maximum of 1,000. So basically, to a maximum of 1,000.
So back up to full strength. Really.
Yeah. Now, in the case of defeats, this can get really bad. Because if you suffer defeats, this can scale pretty terribly if you keep losing battles. But as long as you keep winning, as long as you have a decent number of victories and defeats, you should be able to keep your chapter fairly consistent with how many Marines are in it. The issue comes down to if your chapter can't provide for the event that they're taking part in. Let's say you have 200 Marines and you get an absolutist level event. Yeah, your chance of victory kind of goes down pretty substantially.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Now we're at Gene Seed degradation. This is a new phase I added. Me and Dungle discussed Gene Seed purity in the background. I explained to him how this works. Dungle, you're familiar with D&D. You know the idea of a skill check, yes?
Yep.
Very good. So this is the same concept. You want to roll a d20, adding your chapter progenitor modifier, and if the result is greater than a 10, there is no change. However, if you fail to surpass 10, so you get a 9 or lower, your chapter's purity level will go down by 1. Now, if I remember correctly, your chapter's purity level is an 8, yes?
I believe it was actually 10 because I rolled an 8 and then plus 2 because of the Ultramarines, right?
Very good, yes. Okay, good. Yeah, so you have a 10. Never mind, my mistake. Roll me a d20 plus 2 because you're an Ultramarine successor.
Right. 8 plus 2 makes 10.
You surpass it. Your Gene Seed does not degrade over the course of this generation. Now, time for the resupply phase. This is the official last phase. What the resupply phase does is you can choose between two options. You can either choose to repair your ships or commission more from the Mechanicus. If you choose to replenish more ships from the Mechanicus, instead of the next time we roll for to see how many ships are damaged, instead of damaging new ships, any already damaged ships are destroyed. So basically, consider every ship to have two hit points. So
they have 2 wounds.
Yeah. What would you like to do? Would you like to repair your fleet or commission more ships?
Might as well just repair what we have.
All right. That makes sense. You don't want to get more battle barges?
I just think it would make more sense and be more thematic to keep everything, keep everything repaired because it's already a decently sized.
It's already a massive fleet, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
All right.
So does that just mean anything that was damaged is no longer damaged?
Yeah, everything that's damaged is no longer damaged. If you wanted to commission stuff, you'd have to do a resupply check, but because you're not commissioning anything, you don't have to worry about that. However, you might change your mind if you start losing ships.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Take the risk on having a bigger fleet, but more damaged ships.
And again, I should also mention, if you suffer a defeat, half of any ships that are damaged are destroyed.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's say you did end up getting a defeat, but you're the number of ships remain consistent. You would have lost half of 11 would be 5. You'd have lost 5 escort ships, 2 strike cruisers because we're going to round up because we're assholes, and 1 battle barge because 1 battle barge is automatically damaged.
Indeed.
Yeah, so you can see the degree of not okayness that can happen if you start suffering defeats. Oh, I almost forgot. Because we were victorious, we have to get a chapter relic. So let's roll on the equipment table, which is above the chapter narratives. And these are basically, your D&D magic items, basically. These are some sort of equipment piece or relic that your chapter got through this event.
Indeed, I'm trying to find the equipment.
If it makes you feeling better, you just have to roll a D12.
Fantastic. Artifact, right?
No, equipment. Artifact is something else afterwards.
Okay. Sorry.
Equipment is just below artifact.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. 1. Bolt weapons.
Bolt weapons. What kind of bolt weapon? Was it a pull pistol, absolver, carbine, etc.?
We've got auto bolt rifles.
Okay. So you have a relic auto bolt rifle. So now we got to figure out what made it a relic. So how did your chapter come upon these relics? Roll me a d6 to determine what made it a relic.
Right. 2.
Given as a gift. Your chapters earn the favor of an Imperial force or allied regiment. Basically, an allied force gave you this relic, gave you this weapon as a gift. So maybe the Night House or the Space Marine chapter gave you one of their weapons as like a token of your friendship.
Yeah.
Or you can use the variant rule, which is stolen gift, where your chapter stole the equipment.
I'm not a Blood Raven.
Alright, it was given as a gift. And because you were victorious, you can roll on the artifact table.
Right.
So
that's a D20.
Yes, a D20 for the artifact. And these artifacts are also things you find in the narrative. So again, consider the narrative, the system-wide war we just had, and then look at the relic the artifact you were given, and try to create a story of how that artifact could have been involved in this conflict.
Yeah.
So which one did you get?
The Anvil of Creation.
Ooh, that's my favorite one. A relic forge believed to have originated from the Dark Ages technology, extremely valuable artifact and tool. If you take this relic on campaign, when you roll to determine casualties, reduce the result by 10. And when you do your resupply and recruitment check, you add 5 to the result. So you actually increase the amount of Astartes you would gain. And you can use the artifact more than 1d4 times.
Gotcha.
So you got an ancient piece of equipment that, maybe this was why the battle was fucking going on, right? Maybe the Anvil of Creation was on this planet, and I don't know, everyone just decided they wanted it.
I guess so.
All right, and that is our first narrative done. Thoughts on the narrative system overall? What do you think do you think, given all the information you've been given, that you could create I don't want to say a story, but a very detailed play-by-play of the events that went through this conflict?
No. You've got this wrong. This is in and of itself. You have the bones of a book here. There isn't this isn't a all this is just here is, if I was to take this and I'd write this in and of itself would be a Black Library book. This is incredibly complex.
I mean, it makes sense. We have there's 7 different enemy factions. There's 7 different factions involved in this conflict.
I mean, not even counting the factions and all that. It's just so incredibly in depth. You know what I mean? It is astounding that you came up with this. This is truly unique and one of a kind. I've never used something so in depth.
Thank you. I deeply appreciate it. Does this fit the Witcher theme that I was stealing from the PDFs you send me?
I'm pretty sure that Talsorian Games would be incredibly impressed that you managed to take inspiration from them and turn it into this. Because this is so much more in depth.
Alright, I'm expecting the Black Library book on my desk tomorrow.
Good luck.
Yeah, right.
You're giving me too much to write.
I mean, isn't that a good thing?
Absolutely.
And again, this is just one. You have 4 narratives you could work with. You can make an entirely detailed, in-depth chapter history that like goes through like all the events in your chapter's history, all the notable figures, right? Like we just did one, like we came up with why your chapter has second company captain and Terminator armor just because of this table alone, right? Like this added so much more.
Yeah, this is absolutely friggin' wild.
Yes, I am happy that you enjoyed it. Now the question is, do you want to do one more or do you want to stop here, because this is a lot?
I think right here we already have more than an hour of recording. I think this is a great place to leave off. Maybe do a part 3 at some point.
Very good. I approve of this. I am happy you enjoy it. Like I said, as long as it can fit with your standards of, the D&D rolling, because you and I both have that same, you could always add one more random table,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, and that's not even counting the fact that like I just said like a regiment, I just said a forge roll, I just said a night house, I just said like a chapter, right? Like you could go through the list of Spaceman chapters and be like, oh, I want the Absolutionists or whatever the fuck they are called to be part of this event. Oh, I want Night House Griffith to be part of this event. I want the Vestroyans to be here. You can cherry pick what factions you want to be involved in this and how you relate to them, right? Like, hell, maybe it's the Ultramarines that are here, right? Maybe the Ultramarines are the ones that gave you the gun, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, this is... I mean, if this gets out there, I mean, really, there's going to be no one's going to have an issue writing. I think there might be like a glut of chapter lore because of this.
I mean, I want to release it, I just don't know how to get it all out there. Well, we'll see what we can do.
Indeed.
Yes.
But it has been a pleasure, Ray. Thank you for walking me through this.
No worries. I will always be down to do a part 3. If anyone wants a part 3, let us know.
Indeed.